Hello NSTA, my favorite class. It's Thursday the 26th of March. And first of all, a little bit of feedback for you. I thought the responses for the formal, informal on virus, fighting the virus was very interesting. I thought you had done a very good job. I think maybe some of you downplayed the informal a bit. Which asked for your opinion, but I'm not sure I agree that the informal sanctions, the informal rules are less important. Of course, perhaps you could say that the more, let's say, serious the situation, the more harsh the actual formal sanctions will be too. But don't forget the informal ones still. I mean, there's not really that much control, is there? I mean, the people following the formal rules. It still has to be enforced mainly informally, I think. Okay, but good job. Also, a little bit of feedback on your writings on power and who has it. I love those types of exercises where you have to sort of use your mind and perhaps be a bit creative. Again, you did a good job, I think. It's difficult, of course. I mean, for instance, soft power is very difficult. Who has soft power? Who has the most tourists? I mean, the US, Britain, France. But, what about Saudi Arabia, where millions of Muslims go every year, right? Do they have soft power? Not to us, but again, we have to realize that we are not alone in the world. But again, interesting answers that you gave. If I were to give you my assessment, it's that people tend to underestimate, in fact, if possible, to underestimate the US military power. People tend to think that China is somehow almost soon to be as strong as the US. They're not. They're really not. The US is spending so much more on their military than even China. And Russia isn't spending that much at all. So, I mean, there'll be a long time before China can match the US in military terms. Although, as some of you pointed out very clearly, very, very well, the nuclear bomb. I mean, if you have the nuclear bomb, you don't really need that much sort of army personnel, do you? So the Russians, for instance, don't have that sophisticated sort of weapon systems, traditional weapon systems, but they do have the nuclear bomb. And so has Pakistan, India. They don't rate very highly on, or at least not Pakistan, although India does. But, nuclear bombs, they make it a big difference, which a lot of you pointed out very, very well. Yeah. Yeah, what about Norway's power then? I mean, what do we have? We don't have military power. We are a rich country per capita, per person, but of course in sort of global terms, it's not, we're not that big. But we're seeing now these days that how fortunate we are to be so rich per capita. But still, Norway has often said, President Obama famously said, Norway punches above its weight, meaning that Norway is listened to. Turned out that he used to say this to all small countries that came to visit, but still, there is something to it. The money, Norway spends a lot of money sort of being a humanitarian power, in a sense. Magne Bondevik, the old prime minister, he said Norway is a humanitarian superpower, or big power, I think he said great power. Our money can buy us stuff. Like right now, the Norwegian government is trying to get on the UN Security Council again. Possibly. So, anyway, today, new topic, or not very new. We're staying on the foreign policy thing. We're talking about wars today. So what I want you to do is read page 244 to 248. Answer some questions that I put on It's Learning for you. I can just read them. I want a definition of war, which is interesting because, war is different than just people fighting. People fight all the time. It doesn't make it necessarily a war, okay? Then number 2, what's the difference between a civil war and an interstate war? Very important distinction there. And finally, some specifics. Can you name 3 wars from the world today? 3 wars from the past? Perhaps more difficult, 3 wars that Norway has been a part of, you know? And then you hand in under resources. And that's it for today. Okay, so have a good day everyone and good luck.